Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Cal VCB's Advocate Portal webinar and moderated Q&A session. Before we get started, please know that this webinar is being recorded. First, I'll introduce myself. My name is Jennifer Rocco. I'm the Deputy Executive Officer who oversees the Victim Compensation Division at Cal VCB. The entire team is very excited to engage with such a large group of advocates who are working to assist victims of crime. We're also very excited to welcome so many community-based organizations to the webinar today, as we've recently enhanced our system to provide you with access to our advocate portal. We appreciate your patience as we postpone the webinar to make this important change. We hope that the number of people joining us today shows that you're excited about using the portal. On that note, we do have around 300 people registered to join us today, so all attendees have been muted for this presentation, and we do ask that you remain muted. Because of this, we're going to be limited to using the chat feature to receive your questions and feedback, but we are very excited to hear from you and definitely appreciate your patience with that limitation. So please use the chat box for questions and feedback. I do want to take a moment to thank everyone who responded to our pre-session survey. We are going to respond to some of the themes from the feedback that we received during our time together today. We have a twofold goal for the session today. First is to address survey feedback and give some information about the Advocate Portal and its available features. And then we also want to hear a little more from you about your experience with the portal. Then the feedback that we did receive, we did hear about some of the things that you all liked about the portal, like getting the application ID and bill ID immediately, quicker processing, the ease of accessibility to information, being able to upload documents, and then the ease of use. So those were all things that we heard from the feedback that multiple respondents really liked about it. So we really appreciate you sharing some positive feedback with us in your survey responses. I'm going to briefly review our agenda for today. So first, we are going to have some opening remarks from Natalie. Natalie Mack is our Chief Deputy Executive Officer. After that, we're going to move into our webinar session where we're going to have presentations from Thomas Jacob and Rachel Olson. And I'll also go over some specific responses to the feedback we received. And then we will go through a moderated Q&A session where we're asked for your input and feedback and wrap up with some closing remarks. So at this time, I would like to introduce Natalie Mack, our Chief Deputy Executive Officer at Cal VCB, for some opening remarks.
I said it all. I was on mute. It was brilliant. You missed it. Actually, good morning, everyone. As I want to echo Jennifer's sentiment that we are so excited to share this information regarding the portal. As you're all aware, in August of last year, there was a change made. Oh, hold on a second. I have to change my view very momentarily because I'm seeing a really big picture of just me. Okay, there we go. In August of 24 last year, we had to implement some security measures that resulted in reduced access to the portal. And as I welcome a lot of familiar faces and a plethora of new faces, I just want to share that we're aware of the challenges that it presented to some of you, and we acknowledge that. But we do want to express the importance and emphasize how valuable the tool can be and reinstate our commitment to working together so that we can share as much as we can because we're both in the same business. I mean, we have an immense gratitude for each of you for the work that you do for victims. And I also want to share before we get to the Q&A that none of the folks on this call made the determination to remove anybody from CARES or to change the way we did business. They, like you, are working to implement what we can do within the constructions of what we have. So we don't have the ability to put it back the way it was. We do have the ability to listen, to coordinate and collaborate and try to figure out how to make the best of what we can do. And so this discussion is really geared towards that effort, towards hearing from us as to what we can do, and then hearing from you as to what you'd like to do, and then trying to find where we meet in the middle to try to make it the most effective tool, because we're all in the same business, and that business is helping victims, and we want to do it most effectively and most collaboratively. They have a great presentation plan for you. They've worked very, very hard to try to share relevant and important details with you and share the resources and how to use them. And then, of course, at the end, open up some time to try to be responsive to some of the feedback we've heard. So with that, I will send it to Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Natalie. So I would like to kick off the webinar session, or the webinar portion of our session. During this time, we're going to highlight some of the information that's currently available to advocates in the portal. We aren't going to be responding to live questions during the webinar session, but we do ask that you place those questions in the chat so that we can review them and either respond at the end or at a later date. So first, Thomas is going to share his screen so I can highlight an important resource for anyone who is new to the portal and needs to create an account. And we recognize many of you will be working on getting access to the portal, and this is a very useful resource for all of you. So on the screen, you'll see a link for the Advocate Portal user account creation guide, and that's going to provide you with all the information that you need to get set up to use the Advocate Portal. We ask that you read this guide, as we believe it will answer your questions regarding the setup process. We are really excited to have new advocates join the portal, especially our community-based organizations. And to kick off the process, you can send an email to us with a few pieces of information to get you started. And so we're going to drop that list in the chat for you while everyone logs into the portal, or Thomas logs into the portal, I should say, not all of us. And on the right side in the chat, you'll see the Advocate Portal administrator will need to send an email to CalVCB Online. There's a bulleted list of information that we're looking to receive from you. And then after that, you'll receive a response that includes an advocate pin and directions on how to set up your account. So with that, I am going to have Thomas log into the portal, and he's going to give you a high-level walkthrough of the portal.
Can everybody see the shared screen? Okay, wonderful. So this is the login page for the, oh, sorry, I want to introduce myself. Thomas Jacob. I work for the IT division, and very happy to be sharing a meeting with the current and future potential users. This is our Advocate Portal's homepage. This is common for all online services that CalVCB provides. And this is the hyperlink that has the user guide that Jennifer mentioned. This is the, I have logged in as a simulated advocate user. This user doesn't really exist. And just to highlight in our test environment, just to highlight the high-level features of the Advocate Portal. First off, I want to start with these are the main menu options, and Help Docs page has useful information about the user guides and specific short screencast videos about how to do certain activities most frequently used. So if you have suggestions on more short videos to be added, let us know, and we would be happy to add those. But this is very useful information. Several iterations have been made with the feedback from the current end users. When the user logs in, the first page that the user lands in is the My Applications page. And it has, in high level, there are two panes. And this is the applications in process when the advocate is helping an applicant with an online application. Those applications would be seen here, and they can be exported to Excel for convenience. If the advocate's submitted applications will always show here, and this will include paper applications where applicant has indicated this logged in user as one of the active representative. So this will be automatically assigned to the logged in advocates. This pane also can be searched and export to Excel. I'm going to the next page. This is the search functionality. There will be a detailed overview of this page, but at a high level, this helps you find applications regardless of whether it is online application or paper application, for any applications on or after submitted on or after 1/1/2013. And you can search by applicant's first name, last name, date of birth, and either one of these username or email address of the applicant. Or if you know the application ID, you just need to enter the application ID. You can also find applications assigned to one of your fellow advocate office members. By this drop-down list will list all the list of other advocates users in your office, and you can find out if someone else is actually assisting these applicants. And this will, in some big offices with a lot of historical data, it may bring in a lot of data. And so we have given the, if it is submitted this year, you can filter by the submitted date. If the search is primarily to identify that if the applicant already has an online account, and that way you use that online account to submit the application for that applicant. And if there is no results found, then you can start a new account for the applicant and start the application process. And once the application can be submitted either by it can be co-authored by the applicant and advocate at the same time. It can be submitted by the advocate or submitted by the applicant. So I'm going to the next page, which is the forms page. This page has the most frequently used and most frequently needed forms for assisting an applicant for advocates. But if you have any suggestions that you have a form that needs to be added here, let us know and we will be happy to make that available. User administration page has the that menu option is available only for advocate admins of the office. It has features to unlock a user. If the user gets locked out, they can add another admin. They can revoke admin rights from a user. They can reactivate or deactivate a users when people leave the organization. It's basic user administration for your office. Profile page is where you can see the logged in users current information. What is their PIN? What is the username? You can see your last signed confidentiality agreement. It is also signed when you log in for the first time, and then it is automatically force you to sign after every 1 year. Then you can reset your own password. You can change or set your own security questions that is used when you log in every time. And there is a customer service verification passcode that you set, which is used to verify that the caller is indeed the person who is calling by the customer service unit at CalVCB. I covered the help docs page. There is a page there's a link to the FAQ, which is basically the benefits overview, the benefit amounts, what the what services are available to the applicants from our program. There's a feedback page where you can give feedback to us, and it also can be a mechanism for you to convey issues with some certain applications where you need some help from customer service. You can indicate the application number or bill ID that you are working with, and this will be monitored by our customer service unit. You can also give other feature suggestions or other technical issues, or it may very well be a question about an application or bill that you are helping with. And that concludes my high-level presentation. Back to you, Jennifer. And think we go
Thank
to
you,
the next.
Thomas. I did want to highlight the feedback button also as a means for you to reach out to us for potential new help docs. So we are able to create additional resources. So you could use the other category if you want to suggest any new resources or any updates to the materials that are already available. We would love to hear from you, and do want to emphasize the use of the feedback button to get in touch with us. So now I will turn it over to Rachel, and Rachel's going to do a little bit of a deeper dive into some of the functionality for you. And I anticipate there's a question in the chat that will likely be answered by Rachel's presentation. So hand it over to you. Thank you, Thomas.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, can everybody see my screen? Sharing, is it sharing it?
We can now.
Excellent, thank you. Sorry, there's a little pause there. Okay, so like Jennifer said, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit deeper dive. The reason I'm in a presentation mode and not the portal itself is just because the features I'm going to show you would end up bringing up live data, and we don't want to expose anyone's PII, both the advocates and of course our claimants and victims. So the first thing is the application search. We looked at the feedback from the survey, and there seems to be a lot of folks that have some frustrations or confusions about how to utilize the application search. So we're going to go ahead, and when we go into the portal, you access the search just by the tab at the top in the navigation bar. I'm going to go ahead and click up there on the search. There we go. Okay, so on the search page, you can search by a number of items depending on the type of information that you have available to you. The biggest reason that it is a fairly strict search is we really want to make sure that we are protecting our claimants and victims. If it is left too open, then as you can see in the instructions there, you only have to actually enter a couple of characters into the applicant first name and last name. And because of that, with the date of birth, there's a highly likelihood of bringing back applications or individuals that you are not representing. And so we want to make sure that we're protecting everybody's privacy and confidentiality in that case. So we want to make sure that you are getting exactly who you're looking for. So we're going to go ahead, and as a sample, we will enter in our first name. We're going to enter in our last name. We're going to enter in a date of birth. This is all simulated data, just so nobody is worried, and a username. Okay, so that's the individual that I'm going to be searching for today. And then once we have our criteria in here, you could see here too that I could have searched by application ID or temporary ID if the person did submit an application, or if you had submitted a paper application. Also, if they said, oh, I started an application, it's in process, they can give you the temporary ID, and you can enter that as well. But we're going to go ahead and search for this criteria to get us started. Okay, so Jen's information. All right, so this is what our search results looks like. It's just on that same page, scrolling down. In this case, because we searched for her exact information, it brought back the application she has in process, and we know it's an application that's in draft, not submitted yet, because it's a temp ID. It's not a full application ID. When you submit the applications, you will immediately get an application ID. So if it has not been submitted, you'll see it sitting here in temp ID. If you are pretty sure this is who you're looking for, you just want to double check with a little bit more information, you can click on this temporary ID and it'll bring up a little pop-up. It just gives you a little bit more information as far as the reporting agency and all of the individuals attached to the application. So if claimant, applicant, victim, if say there was a derivative victim, this person's minor child or something like that, you might be able to bring up that information as well. So you can see which application you're looking for. I'm going to close that. If I needed to start an application for this individual, so say she has a daughter that she needs to have apply as well, I can go ahead and start a new application as well. But the other piece is applications for you to work on have to be assigned to you. And we'll go into application assignment in a minute. Okay, so this really helps us weed out any applications that you don't need to have pulled up, and make sure that the applications coming up in the search results are who you are looking for. So let's say though that you submitted that paper application and you don't have that other piece of information as far as the username or the email, or they're not sure of the email, or they're not sure if they set up an account, things like that. So you want to just try and find that paper application. So in that case, if you have the application ID, by all means, please search by that. But if you can't, the other thing you can do is you can search by what's unassigned in your office. And that might sound a little strange, but what you can do is you can click on this advocate drop down, and it'll bring up all the advocates in your office. As you can see, there's a lot of folks there. And then it'll bring up unassigned as well. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. Now, when you do that, it's going to bring up every unassigned document, or excuse me, application in your office. And that could be thousands. So it's good to put in a criteria here. In this case, I'm going to say, oh, I know we submitted her application we're looking for in November of last year. So I could have put just November if that's the case. But if I'm not sure, I just put the whole year here. And that's going to bring up a fair amount of results, but it won't be in the thousands, luckily. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to click search just for the unassigned. All right, so what that brought up is it brought up all applications that have been submitted to CalVCB and are currently unassigned. There is not, and what that means is there's not an advocate account attached to them. They could be assigned to you in our internal database, especially with the paper applications, but something happened that it's not linking all the way to the CalVCB online portal. Now, it could just be that your information had been typed in instead of selecting the dropdown. Lots of reasons that could have happened. But what you can see is that right here, the district attorney's office, and then advocate, there's nobody assigned here. So you're going to look through those, and the representative, though, will be the person that was actually on the paper application. So if you were the person on the application, that will actually show up in this column. So that way you can look through and see, oh, look, I have 6 or 7 applications that are in there that are not in my portal, but they're right here. Now I can request that those get assigned to me because I know they're there in the unassigned state. All right, so we're going to click forward. So, oh, you can also check. Sorry, I forgot. You can click on the little, the temporary ID or the application IDs, of course, and you get that same pop-up if you're just double checking which one it is, if it's the parent or the minor, etc. Okay. So finally, if you have searched by the unassigned, you've searched by the criteria you have, you've searched and the person isn't sure if they set up an application, or excuse me, an account, or they didn't set up an account, then you'll probably get back this. You'll just be at the top of the page, no results found for the given search criteria. And if that's the case, then all you actually do next is create an account for them. That means there is no application for them in the system, and you'll just pretty much start from the beginning. And you'll create an account. They will need to verify and finish their account setup in order to sign their application, but then you can go through and start the application with them. Okay, so there's a couple situations where you're going to reach out to different people, and we just want to cover that here to really help you guys troubleshoot when you're not seeing an application you need. So who to contact, okay? So first and foremost is our applicant. This is the person whose information is going to be in there. This is the person that may or may not have set up an account on their own. This is a person that may have submitted an application on their own or started one. So really reach out to them and say, okay, I need an email that you would have used. Did you set up a username? Am I getting your name correctly? Especially if there's like hyphenations or things like that. And then of course, if they have an actual application ID number, do you have an application ID number that we can search with? So that's really the biggest one. And I know that sounds silly, but sometimes it's just double checking, because sometimes people do have multiple emails that they're using, or they have ones they only use for certain situations. So we just want to double check that we're getting all the information correct with them. And then there's reaching out to CalVCB. So we are definitely here for you. We want to make sure the applications are set up correctly on our end so that you can see them in the portal and you can find them and your supervisors can get them assigned to you. So with CalVCB, really go through that feedback tab that both Jennifer and Thomas were mentioning before. And the biggest reason for that, besides that it's very versatile and you can put whatever you need to in there, is that it verifies you. So it verifies this is an advocate that has signed our confidentiality agreement, that has an active account in the portal, and it is okay for us to give you that information. And then the second piece, besides maintaining the claimant and victim confidentiality, is that if your issue is something that needs to be elevated, we can prioritize those. If it's a quick question we can respond to, get back to you, and turn around quickly, great. But if it's something that's a little bit more complicated, we want to make sure it's going to the right place. So we're going to escalate it to our IT division. We're going to get the answers from victim comp division if it's something that just needs a little bit more research, whatever that may be. Using that feedback tab really helps us organize and efficiently respond to you guys. And then the final one is your supervisor or admin. And this may sound silly, but they have a lot more capabilities within the portal. They can assign, they can reassign, they can activate or help you set up your accounts, things like that. And so it's really important to reach out and say, okay, I need these 6 applications that I see are in the unassigned so that I can continue my work. Okay. And please, if you have any questions during this time, throw them in the chat. We're making sure to capture all your questions so that we can answer whatever we are able to in this time at the end of all this. All right. The second one, this is the feedback form, just a reminder. Okay, the second thing we're going to take a look at is that application assignment, right? So if you are here and you're a supervisor and you have those applications that you need to assign to folks, or if it's just a workload management of understanding where the apps are for and who's assigned to them or who needs to be assigned to them, we're going to make sure to cover that here for you today. So again, just like with everything else, we're going to start with a search, because that's really the gateway into looking at all the different work items. I'm sorry, applications in turtle language. Okay. So again, starting with the search, but for the admin user and for our supervisors, unless you're looking for very specific application, you have one person saying, hey, I see this in the unassigned, would you please assign it to me? Here's the app ID. You're going to use that app ID search. It'll be fast. It'll get you what you need. You don't necessarily need to go through all of the applicant's individual information search, but if you have that, you can do too. But what you also have is your search by advocate. Okay, so for our first search for the advocate, we're going to take a look at what is unassigned for our advocates again. Okay, one more time, but this time we're leaving it open. We're not putting in criteria. Now, for your own purposes and for getting the workload signed out to your advocates, you may want to go in smaller batches and look at like a year at a time or things like that, as far as the number of work applications you need to go through. However, in this case, we're just going to open it and we're going to do a search. So as you can see, there's a lot of search results. So this is 1,000. It will actually only bring you back 1,000 at a time. So there may be more than this that come back. But it's going to bring you back. But what you can see here, and what I was mentioning before, is that there's the application information that's here, but then there's also, you can see there's no advocate assigned to this here, but there is a representative assigned to this, and CalVC Training is my fake advocate that I put in here. So your advocate's name may show up in this representative column, and they're just not assigned it in the portal. So then you can go through, you can click each of the check boxes, and then you can go to the assign application pane that's right below the search results and click on your advocate user, assign those applications to them. And then the moment you click submit, it's going to assign those. Okay. So that's first and foremost, is getting those applications that are not assigned to your advocates in the portal to them. The second one is, what if you need to reassign applications? Okay, so in this case, we'll say CalVCB Training is going out on extended leave. They're going to be gone for a while. So we're going to click on them and hit search. And this is only going to bring up the applications that are assigned to CalVCB Training. Okay, so here you see now, again, these are our simulated applications. An advocate assigned to these here is CalVCB Training, and the representative listed is CalVCB Training. So these applications here are what's assigned to them. So I can now reassign these. So I'll click my boxes again, and I'll go down, and let's say we'll pick another fake advocate, and we'll reassign those to this fake advocate. Okay, All right. Again, if you have any questions, please go ahead and throw them in the chat so we can get them all answered. The last thing that we want to go over in a little bit deeper dive is what can you see as an advocate? And in this case, we have the application summary page. So this time we're not going to start out on the search because these are applications that are actually assigned to me, okay? So I have applications in process and I have applications submitted. And as you can see, Rose Smith here is a temp ID. So this is an application that is in draft. It has not been submitted to CalVCB. It is still being processed through the actual application form. Now, I can edit this. I can have the applicant for this, who's Jen, go in and sign it when we're done. But until we actually hit that submit and I get an application ID, it's going to stay here in my applications in process. Okay. Oops. Sorry. And then finally, what I have down here is my application submitted. So these are all applications that are assigned to me as the advocate. If you just assisted someone in filling out the application, you clicked on, there's two options when you start an application, assist only and represent. And if you clicked assist only, those applications will not show up here because you are not the advocate assigned to them. You are not the authorized representative on them. You just assisted with the applicant filling out the form. And in this case, for Jen, CalVCB Training is the actual advocate. So that's why Jen shows up in my application submitted. Okay. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click view in order to view the application summary page. You can notice here before I jump over, there's also an upload button that will also take you to the upload page specific to Jen's application if you have documents you need to have uploaded to her application. But first, let's go to the view. So in the summary page, and it's a very long page, we're going to go down it in a second, but first there's just the basics of everything about Jen and this application in particular. Okay, so here we have our basic claimant information, victim information, applicant information. Remember, our applicants and the reasons why we talk about applicants way more than claimants and victims in the system is because they're the responsible party that has the account, and that drives all the information that's getting populated into the actual application form. So here you have the information about their user account, but then you also have the crime information. So their law enforcement that we have listed, crime type, etc. All right. Next, you'll have the benefit limit. So when an application is still being determined for eligibility, it's still going through that process, this table will not be there yet. There'll just be a message about the benefits have not populated, benefits are not available, something along those lines. Once it's been allowed, the benefit limit table will populate. And this shows this is an adult direct victim. So this person has all of these different benefits technically available to them should they need them. Okay. And then you have your bills and expenses. So the bills and expenses, every bill that comes into us, in this case, we uploaded an EOB and we uploaded a medical bill, and those were both uploaded as bill items. And so they will go into our system as bill items. Once they start being processed through for payment, you'll see the service dates populate, the billed amounts populate, the bill status will change, and then also if payment is made, you'll see whether it was made to the applicant or to the provider. Okay. And then if they have requested income loss or support loss, in their cases, you will see a bill listed here as well, just like these are listed. There'll be a bill ID. So if you have some sort of question or you're trying to get some information for the applicant about a certain bill, you can reference that bill ID in the feedback form with your questions. And then finally, you have the uploaded documents and the correspondence from CalVCB. These are just lists. They are not clickable links. In this case, it shows what you have as the you as the advocate have uploaded to this application. So we have a medical bill, we have the insurance explanation of benefits, and we have the crime report all uploaded with this application form. And then the correspondence that have gone out. So we have, this is listed of all the letters that have now been sent out, whether they're getting sent to the claimant, whether they're getting sent out to the providers or different agencies that we do verification from. Their titles will be listed here. And then remember mentioned, or excuse me, I mentioned the upload button on the summary page. I'm sorry, not summary page, on your home page where your applications are. That will always be there, but you also have one here. So if you're reviewing some information with the applicant and then they have a couple of bills, you can go ahead and click the upload button here, and it will take you to an upload page that is specific to that application. And it will show everything that you've uploaded to that application before, and you can go ahead and upload that new document. All right. Okay. Thank you guys so much for listening to all of that. I hope that answered some of your questions. If it didn't, please put more additional questions in the chat, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Jen to answer some more of the survey feedback responses.
Apologies, my camera decided to turn off because I was too quiet for too long. Hopefully everyone can hear me again. So before I jump into the feedback items, I am going to take a moment just to run through the chat. For those of you who have posted questions in the chat, we are doing our best to be responsive to those. And so if you look back, you may see an answer there already. One of the things I was hopeful that Thomas, you could speak to is there's a lot of chatter regarding the close button. I know you had posted some information in the chat about that, but maybe you could clarify that functionality for the group, because it sounds like they haven't seen the close button. So I was hoping if you could just explain for everyone how that works, that would be great.
Okay, so let me get to that page. Screen. So if an application is being drafted by you, you're in the process but not submitted. Can everybody see my shared screen?
Not yet, Thomas, no.
Oh,
Or maybe they can. I can't.
am I sharing now? Okay.
Yeah.
So if the application is being drafted or co-authored by between you and the applicant, or just by an advocate alone, those will show up here. At the end of it, there will be a close button, just similar to this, for 30 days since the application is created, or after 30 days the application has created, or the applicant has not access to this application at all, or has not created an account. So before the 30 days, if you don't want to see this, you an applicant and already aware that they want to withdraw the application, you don't want to see this draft at all in this pane at all, then the easiest method is going to the search page, look for unassigned applications like Rachel shown, or assigned application for that particular advocate, and unassigned the application. When the application is unassigned from an advocate, they will not show up in the applications in process. I mean, corrected. I think the days I said is 30 days, which is wrong. It is after 90 days. So if the application is drafted and abandoned for 90 days, and if the applicant has not created the account or accessed this application, then you can close. You can click the close button, and then it can be closed. Even after 90 days, even before 90 days, or if you want to unassign, even after the applicant has created an account, you can unassign by the advocate admin. So those are the two options.
The notes are indicating that the close button is not an option for non-admin staff, even if it's past well, at that point it was 30. Does it not show up until the 90 days, or how does that work, Thomas?
Yes, it will not show up for first 90 days. Okay. It will show up only after 90 days, and if the applicant has not created the account for that application. Yes.
Thanks for clarifying.
So I see someone commented that it doesn't show up even after 90 days. Is that something that would only appear for an admin, or should it appear for all users?
No, it will appear for all. In the case when it is not showing up even after 90 days is because that the applicant has created an account and it shows up in that applicant's portal. So the only way at that time is to unassign the application from the advocate.
Okay. and then the button would be available.
No, no, the button will not be available, but they don't instead, if, in order for advocate to not see this application here, they can, when the admin unassigns it, it will not show up on the pane. The goal is to not have this draft application show in this pane, right?
Well, I think it's not just not for it to view, they want to be able to close it.
Yeah, at this time, the design is like this. When it is inactive for 90 days, then it is closable. Inactive or the applicant has not active.
But we can
If
look
there,
into that.
if there is more specific feedback or concerns, let us know and we will fine tune that feature. Need for unassigning and reassigning the applications.
Yeah.
It explains how to unassign so that it will be shown on the, it will not be shown on the in-process pane.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that will, I'm just scrolling back through the chat to see if there's any other questions. We'll work on responding to some more of these and I'll circle back. Right now I wanted to chat a little bit about some of the feedback items or feedback themes that we received in the survey. So one of the items we saw was advocates stating that they, when they had access to CARES, they were able to view correspondence. And now that we've moved to the advocate portal, the correspondence can no longer be viewed. We did some research into the CARES access that was provided previously, and we did not see that advocates were able to view correspondence. Unfortunately, as we've kind of mentioned a few times now, we're unable to share correspondence because of the information contained within. I can offer a few alternatives or solutions about how to obtain the correspondence. You can reach out to us. You can ask the claimant to read the letter. If they have questions, they can fax or email a copy of the letter to you, or we can send them a copy of it if they need it. Or the victim can bring the letter to you to work with you. So we understand that is a little bit challenging, not being able to just view the correspondence in the portal, but that's just information at this time that we aren't able to reveal within the portal. But if things, if anything were to change, we can reconsider, but at this time, correspondence will not be viewable in the advocate portal outside of the details that, excuse me, that we already share. There was also a few other items of feedback around differences between the paper application and the way the fields are laid out when you're entering an application into the portal. And so folks were asking if it could be made more similar, if we can align those. We will look to see if there are any improvements that we can make, but I want to share that the reason why the portal presents itself different than the paper app is because as you are entering that information, we are using or gathering that to be able to create a portal account and a user ID for OLA. And so the fields are presented differently so that we can create that account while you're entering the application information in. So we've done our best to mirror the two, but as I said, you know, despite those limitations, we'll try and take a look and see if there's anything that we can do to make them more similar. We also received quite a few pieces of feedback around, you know, system might be slow or the system's freezing and wanting to know who to reach out to for assistance. So there are a lot of variables that could come into play when your system's slowing or freezing. The most common is bandwidth. We would ask that you reach out to your IT department first because they may be able to assist you with some of those issues that you're experiencing. But if you find that your IT department is not able to troubleshoot that issue, the more details that we have, the better we can do to assist you. So if you can note the date the time of day and any of the particular details of maybe you're in a specific field on the application, or you were hitting a save button, or you were searching, anything like that would be helpful to us. You can use the feedback button or email us to provide that information, and we'll work with our IT team to troubleshoot and assist you. But again, you know, sometimes those issues are best resolved with your own IT department first. So we would ask that they be your starting point before reaching out to us. Another piece of feedback that came up quite a bit was regarding entering multiple applications with the same details into OLA. So this is one where we're actually evaluating it and considering it for a future release. So once we're able to work through the details and update that functionality, we can provide some additional communication out to the group. But we do thank you for sharing that with us, as it's something that we think we can work towards for a future release. I'm going to go back and look into the chat and see if we have any unanswered questions. Or maybe we have answered questions that are, I do see some feedback on the search functionality and the number of fields. So thank you for that feedback. We'll definitely take a look. We'll have a copy of the chat after the webinar, so we will be able to dig in a little deeper. I know we're trying our best right now to be responsive to all of your items, but we will definitely go through the chat and make sure that we review each piece of feedback and also respond to any questions that we might have missed. There's a comment or a question: just to confirm, we are required to complete a rep request form in all apps, even if we submitted the app through the portal. Just signing section 6 will not allow us to contact customer service to ask questions and obtain information. So I think the difference is if are you just assisting them with the application, or if you're going to represent them for their application. So a representative request form is going to be required if you are going to represent that person or be contacting us, but not if you're just submitting an application on their behalf. And I see most of these questions has been answered. There's a question about crime reports. Is that a piece of it? So is the crime report needed when turning in the application, or is that piece of information turned in after it's reviewed? So the sooner you get your crime report in, the better. If you can submit it when the application is submitted, that is fantastic. If we don't receive it, though, we will reach out to get a copy of it. Looks like some of these. What is OLA? Online application, online portal. And then it looks like there's a few other pieces of feedback that we can review and circle back on. So with that, I am going to move over to our moderated question and answer session. So during the webinar portion, we did our best to address some of the most frequently heard questions and feedback from our survey responses. And then during this part of our session, we want to hear anything additional that you might have regarding the Advocate Portal, your experience using it, and what we could how we can make the tool more useful for you when you're assisting victims of crime. And then we also have a few clarifying questions to just kind of kick us off and get the discussion going. So one of the first items we wanted to hear from you on is, since we've made recent updates to the portal, we've noticed that usage of the portal has actually gone down. And so we're hoping that you could share with us in the chat, what are you doing in lieu of using the portal to assist victims, and what you think we could do to help bridge that gap. Because, as Natalie's mentioned, as I've mentioned, we really want to make this tool as useful as possible for you as you are assisting victims. And if it's not, we would love to know, what are you doing, and if there's something that we can implement to help you better assist victims. So if there's any feedback or responses that you guys could put in the chat regarding that, we would appreciate it. So I see not user friendly at all and has made things frustrated. So if anything you can elaborate on, any specific details would be greatly appreciated. And then another couple items that we received some feedback on, if anyone's able to expand on or provide additional details. There was several comments about difficulty in providing timely updates, but they didn't mention what updates or where the timeliness has become an issue. So would love to hear from you about that. And again, if you have ideas on other information we can share, I know I've kind of already touched on correspondence, but if there's a specific field or piece of information that you think would be helpful, we would love to hear from you about that as well. And I'll scroll back. Now I see some comments in the chat. The ability to upload a paper application on CARES was very quick. It takes a lot longer to complete an act. Oh, okay. Advocates have had a hard time accessing their online accounts. Is that creating there? I think Viviana, if you want to expand on that, is that creating the account or just logging into their account? That would be helpful. Takes more time to access the information. I see a question. Does the applicant have to create an account? I work with elders and they aren't computer literate. Thomas, did you want to?
I answered that question in the chat. The applicant need not create an account for an advocate to represent an application and submit. If the applicant creates an account, it makes submission of the signature of the applicant little easy, but advocate can submit the signature on behalf of the applicant also. So, but we strongly recommend that the applicant creates the online account so that they will get the correspondence notification as and when CalVCB correspondence is generated. They can also see the details of the correspondence, bills, the status of the bills, payments made, benefit limit balances. They can also interface with the CalVCB customer services using a messages feature. So they don't need to call that 1-800 number and for a short wait in line wait time. So it has definite benefits to it, but if the applicant is not very tech savvy to create an account, it is okay. There is no need. It is not a required. It is not required for advocates to submit an application with applicant creating an account.
Thank you, Thomas. I do see a comment here that a demo from the perspective of a victim applying would be helpful so that advocates could see what the victims required to do, and it can explain to them better. And so Rachel did, as soon as I started reading, her answer popped up, but there is an e-learning walkthrough of completing the application form in the help docs. Thank you, Rachel. So if you wanted to view that, it was the last tab when Thomas did his walkthrough in the help docs on the portal. So hopefully you'll take a peek. See, a lot of the questions have been answered. I do see a comment about completing derivative applications can be confusing. I don't know, Priscilla, if you want to share any more information about that, or if it's easier to come off of mute, Priscilla, and share more, I think that would be okay.
Priscilla had to step away, but I can elaborate
Okay,
a little bit more on what she was mentioning. So
sure.
derivative victims, especially when it's minor derivative victims, because as mentioned before, when we create an account, it's more the applicant, right? Because that's a responsible person. So
Mhm.
sometimes there's confusion as is, should the applicant be the parent or should it be the minor? And when that information is entered, then there's duplicates of how it then transcribes to our claims department, and there's confusion of who the actual direct victim is. So before in the actual paper application, it was usually the victim who is responsible and then the parent if the victim was a minor. But now, because of how it's entered in the portal, it can get very confusing as to where the parent should go and where the minor should go, especially if it's an additional derivative victim or even when they're a direct victim.
Thank you for that. I appreciate the clarification. I'm looking through. Thomas, you might be able to assist with this question. It says, oh gosh, my
Well,
screen.
Jen, before we move
Oh, go
on,
ahead.
are we gonna take that question offline? Because she was kind enough to provide the additional information. Do we?
Yeah,
wanna-
no, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I
I
apologize.
know you're,
I wrote
you're
it out. I
hyper
wrote,
focused. I know. That's what I was
I'm
like.
trying, yeah, I apologize. I'm so
worries.
sorry. I didn't catch your name, but I wrote down, I took good notes and we will definitely follow up with you. And we'll touch on it a little bit in our closing remarks as well, but we definitely are capturing what you're saying and we want to be responsive to that. Thanks, Natalie.
There's a question about automatic denial or purge. There is no automatic purge feature. Every application comes in, is reviewed by a human being and made a conscious decision on the adjudication. System does not have an automatic denial or purge feature. That was one of the questions. There was a question about, as an advocate admin, how would we remove users who have left our agency? There is no feature to remove or delete users. There is, in the user administration page, there is features to deactivate a user. The system will automatically assign advocates to only to active users. So if you know that one of your fellow employees have left the organization, it is best to have that user deactivated. But for historical reasons that an application has been represented and assigned to an advocate, we will not be able to remove them from the system completely.
Thomas, there's a couple of past questions maybe you can assist with. There's a comment or a question where someone has uploaded documents, but they're not visible or not viewable. Would you be able to assist with that?
Yeah, so there are the advocate user uploaded documents are shown by default, and there are some documents that CalVCB received for processing for say documents we receive from Medical or from EDD, and not all documents are shown in the advocate portal. But if you have a document that you have uploaded and it is not shown in the uploaded page, please submit the feedback form and then we will take a look into the details. There was a question about what happens if you upload a document to the wrong category. Again, once you upload the document, there is no way to correct the document category in CARES. I mean, in CalVCB Online. So using the feedback page, submit the application ID and the document that you uploaded and the correct category that it has to be, so we can do the corrective actions for you.
Thank you, Thomas. There's also a question. It says, often when I upload a medical bill, it shows up as a dental bill, even though I did not select that option. If you could please use the feedback button to share that information with us, we can troubleshoot that and see why that might not be, why that is happening and make corrections.
There's a question about the admins are the only ones who can assign applications to advocates, correct? And the answer is yes, only advocates can, advocate admins can assign or reassign applications. All other advocates can find out who it is assigned to in their office, just in case if one person is on vacation, and they can find out who is assisting them. So, but assigning feature is only with the admin.
Going down my list.
Very good questions.
Yeah, they are good questions. I think there's a question about how do folks submit paper applications these days. So the primary way would be via fax. If you have a paper application. Thomas, I don't know if you wanted.
That is correct.
Okay.
Even though we call it paper, it's basically the paper that comes to us through a fax machine. So the very few number comes in like postal mail into the mail room. Some people find out about our program and fill up the application and send it. That's very small volume, but some of the offices and some of the applicants actually fax, because fax number is in our advertisements in many places.
I think, and the fax number is 866-902-8669. I'm gonna scroll down. It looks like we have, how long does it take for a paper app to be assigned to the advocate in the portal? Is this one that you, if it's one that you submitted, it would be.
So if a paper or faxed in application comes to the building, then it goes through an application intake process, and one of the data entered by the application intake person at CalVCB is to indicate who is the advocate who is representing the application, because that is in section 6 of the application. And 2 hours or less time after that application intake is done, it will automatically get assigned into that advocate users in the portal. So it's an automatic process. There's a 2-hour delay from the system of record at CalVCB and the portal.
Thomas, there's also a question about when should we expect to receive our advocate PIN? I received an email on 1/23 stating that information was shared. So if we have only received your information last week, it's going to take us a little bit of time to onboard. We have quite a few CBOs, community-based organizations, all coming through requesting access at this time. So I would ask that you give us a week or so to try and get caught up on some of those requests, but I know we are working on them. Some of you have actually put questions in the chat, and I see my team on the side here is working on getting those processed through as we speak. So you should be hearing from us very soon about your account access. Thomas, if you see any other questions that you want to jump in and answer, please go right ahead. Someone had just placed a comment about logging in. Oh, that was from earlier. Can you maybe go talk a little bit about the process for logging into the portal? I'm assuming once they receive their PIN.
Oh, okay. So once they receive the PIN is sent to you when CalVCB adds that user to the system, and you'll get an email. Let me share my screen too. Can you guys see my screen now? So the method to create a user account for an advocate admin is you come to the home page and go to the create an account, then select I am a victim advocate. It explains what are the features available for the portal, and then you enter your advocate PIN that you received from the email and the email address, and indicate that you are not a robot, and it then asks for certain questions, and it verifies that you are indeed you. And then it asks for username, password, security questions, and all of those. And this is the method to create an account. Did I answer the correct question or?
I'll look to see in the chat if we did.
Okay.
I see some new messages. I'm trying to scroll back and see if we've missed anything. Lucy, I have the fax number there for you. Just to be clear, if a claimant applies on their own, can the advocate request to their admin to be assigned if they have the claimant's application number?
For an advocate admin to assign an application to the any of the advocate in the office, the application has to be at least assigned to that office. That means in the applicant has to indicate in the application form in section 6 that applicant gives consent for one of these advocate or advocate from this office to represent them. So if only the office is indicated, the application will get automatically assigned to the office and not to an advocate user specifically. Then the admin can actually assign to any of the office members. But if it is not assigned to an office or not assigned to any of the advocate users of the office, then they will not be able to assign it. But they can contact CalVCB customer service, or the applicant can actually call the CalVCB customer service and indicate that I want this advocate to be represented, and there is some paperwork for that.
See a couple of comments about pins, so hopefully I've answered those. We'll be getting in contact with you to provide that as soon as the accounts can be set up. Maria has a follow-up question on that process just mentioned and the unassigned applications. Maria, I'm assuming it was maybe information that Thomas just went over. Do you want to come off mute and ask your question?
Hi, thank you. Sorry for the repetitive questions. But
That's
earlier
okay.
I had asked, so the unassigned section in the portal, are those unassigned applications that have been represented to the office, but just not specifically assigned to an advocate?
Correct. They
Yeah.
are
Correct.
assigned to the office. It might have been previously assigned to a previous employee who worked at advocate, or it is in the application just indicated that it is this office, but no specific advocate name is mentioned. Yes.
Okay, so then there wouldn't be any issues with the JP taking it because they're not being represented at headquarters.
JP, I don't know. That's
Right, correct.
but
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
JP is not generally representing the application.
Right. Yeah, neither is HQ.
Advocates are the ones who are representing the application.
Thank you.
And I did see a piece of feedback and now I can't find it, but so, oh, here we go. Can generic examples of letters that go out to victims be made available to advocates to better understand what they are receiving? We can definitely consider that. I'm assuming just generic templates of what they might receive. And then there was also questions on the side about the recording. And so, Katie, where will the recording be available? Someone's direct messaged me. Where will the recording be available after the webinar?
Yeah, after the webinar, we will be posting it on our website in our advocate. If you go to the top of our website, there's a For Advocates page and an advocate webinar section. So we'll make sure the recording is posted there. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us, to our public affairs team and publicaffairs@victims.ca.gov.
Thanks, Katie. Okay. Thank you for the follow-up, Samantha. We'll definitely consider your suggestion. All right. Do have anything else. Someone just I'd like for the application process to be more user-friendly to human trafficking victims, such as when requesting the human trafficking wage loss. I'm not sure who submitted that comment, but do you want to come off of mute and maybe expand a little bit more? Lerma, I think was the commenter. Okay, we'll keep going. Looks like Lerma's having a problem unmuting. Oh, and I can't do it for you. Okay, we'll keep trying. Were there any other comments, or Thomas, did you see any other, or Rachel, any other comments in the chat or questions that we needed to respond to? I'm scrolling and I see answers to most. Oh,
Can you hear me?
oh, I think you're there. I
Hello?
just can't hear you.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me? Hello?
Are you very far away from your microphone?
Hello?
Mm. I can follow up with you afterwards, Lerma. I'm happy to reach out and talk with you more about that. But I think what does everyone think? I think we've covered most of the questions in the chat. I think that everyone's comments we've taken down great notes. We're going to take a copy of the chat. We'll go back through just in the event that we might have missed something. We've been trying to do a good job of being responsive to everything. But I think I'll wrap it up with some closing remarks. Feel free, if questions continue to pop up, put them in the chat, and we can respond to those as I wrap up here. So I really wanted to thank everyone for participating in the webinar today. As I said, we're going to follow up with you regarding any of the items that you provided feedback on, or things that we mentioned that we might consider. We'll look at the items from today in addition to some of the items that we received on the pre-webinar survey to see what enhancements or updates we would be able to make. So if you don't already have a portal account, we hope that you'll take a moment to start the process and create one. As we shared earlier, you can reach out to us via email and share that bulleted list of information. And then you will receive a PIN back from us, and you can use that to log into your account. If you already have an account, we hope that you'll take some time to dig deeper into the features that we went over today. For everyone, please don't forget to use the help docs. Those are a great resource. And we're always looking for ideas on anything that we can add to that library of resources. As always, we look forward to hearing from you with any feedback. Please use the feedback button that Thomas highlighted in the portal to communicate with us. And also stay tuned for more information on upcoming meetings. We plan to hold additional webinars like this throughout the year, and we hope that you will join us for those as well. As Katie mentioned, the webinar will be available on our website for you, or if you had someone in your office who wasn't able to attend that would like to view it, we will make it available to them. And with that, I hope that you found the information we shared with you today helpful, and thank you for your time, and we will end our webinar. Thanks, everybody.